Today we're diving into a topic that's on a lot of people's minds is that should I buy a home right now? In this video, I'm gonna go broad strokes. So I'm gonna say in general, this is what you should think about. And then I'm also gonna go really specific to this time. Like, okay, because of X, Y, and Z, this is why this specific time might be a good time to buy, might not be a good time to buy. But I'm gonna break that all down in this video. First, we'll start broad strokes. So we're gonna say having a stable income and a savings is gonna be super important when you're even thinking about buying a house. Now, what does that mean exactly? Well, consistent in that you've been at that job for quite some time, or you've been at that job for a decent amount of time. Now you can do it to where you're just starting out, but that's really only if you're salary. If you're 1099 like I am, that's an independent contractor, then you have to have at least 2 years of that income coming in. And that makes sense, right? Because typically 1099 is some type of commission base, and a W-2 is meaning that you're getting a salary every week, you're getting this amount of money. I'm no accountant. I'm just saying that on the 1099, you're gonna need a little bit more proof. And really, it's just something to be aware of. If you are that 1099, lender's gonna ask for a whole lot more information. They're going to need a whole lot more from you because right now it is no longer 2005 where they did ninja loans, so no income verification whatsoever, no job verification. All that stuff was that's all thrown out. So if you haven't bought a house in a long time, this is a completely different process. So you have the consistent pay. Do you have a savings account? Do you have money saved away? You're going to need money for the down payment, which typically 3.5% is the minimum. But a lot of people will do 5% to all the way up, as much as you want to go, really. So the minimum, 3.5%. You also have closing costs, which in Central Florida is typically 2%. I tell people to make sure that you have 2% available for closing costs, and make sure you have at least 3.5% and more than likely 5% for your down payment. So right there, you're looking at 7% of the purchase price of the home. The other things that kind of come up and bite people is that you have an appraisal, which who knows how much an appraisal costs, $650, $850, just depends on the financial institution. An inspection, and it depends on what inspections you're getting, to where you could get a 4-point, which most of the time here in Central Florida is required. A general inspection, if you're getting a pool inspection, all of those things can add up as well. So you want to make sure that you have the money set aside for the down payment, the closing costs, the appraisal, the inspection. And lastly, how much it costs to move. So getting the moving trucks and doing all that business. So if you have that consistent pay, you have that nice little safety net, then you're a green light. So first step, that's good to go. Oh, but there's one more thing I got to mention, because this is a new thing with NAR, the National Association of Realtors, and that is buyer compensation. You have to start to think about, am I going to need to put in extra money for the buyer compensation? Now you can negotiate that through the contract in most cases. So that's not something that is the absolute have to. The other ones you have to have: closing costs, down payment, inspection, appraisal, typically. But the buyer's compensation is just something to be aware of. So we're all set with as far as what you need savings wise, what you need as far as making your money. You have consistent pay, you have a little safety net that's in the bank. Now let's talk about your future plans. I always suggest to people, just really know your future plans for that house. Now, if you're planning on moving within the first 2 years of buying this house, but then I would probably take that under consideration to maybe not buy the house. Just depends though. If you're planning on buying the house, using it, and then renting it out, that's fine. The biggest thing here is that you want to make sure that you're making up in time and you have enough time to grow that asset, right? Time in the market. Because if you're not putting that time in the market, you are paying for the closing costs. You are paying for maybe the buyer's compensation. You are paying for all of those fees up front. And then you're turning around and selling, which you're going to have to pay the fees for selling as well. You're going to have the title insurance. You're going to have the seller's agent compensation. There's a lot of things that can kind of take this money away. So you don't want to lose money when you're buying a house. So typically I tell people, make sure that you're going to be there for 3 years, or at least that you're going to keep the house for 3 years. All right, this is the last general, basic, broad stroke in this whole thing. And that's really making sure that you can afford the monthly payments. You are not going to be house poor when you buy this house. Take a look at your current expenses. Do you have the room to pay the PITI, so the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance that's going to be necessary to buy this house? So you're taking a piece of your safety net away, and then on top of that, you're increasing your bills, maybe. And then on top of that, you are paying the PITI, and then things that you want to fix up in the house, or things that, maintenance on the house, those kind of fees that will come in. Those kind of bills that will come in. Now, for being more specific to this time, it's an election year. Oh my goodness, what's going to happen with the market? Interest rates are going down, but when are they going down? There's so many questions that are involved here. but I'm gonna really break down just a couple. So Bankrate actually put out a really good article on this in the study that has been shown. Since 1987, housing prices on an election year have gone up 4.84%, to where on a non-election year, they've gone up 4.44%. And now that's not just coming from like the early 1900s, that's coming from the late 1900s, which pains me to say that because I was born in the early 80s, which now I hear kids talk about all the time, the late 1900s. It kind of breaks my heart. So we also have interest rates, and are they going down, and how much are they gonna go down? The one thing I could tell you, this is a quote from a movie, I believe, it's whether you're Warren Buffett or Jimmy Buffett, you don't know what's gonna happen with the interest rates. And that's what I'm telling everybody. That's what I always tell my clients. You're just never gonna know. There could be world events that have complete control, or they have been a complete factor in why the interest rates have gone up, or in why the interest rates have gone down. We've gone through COVID-19, we already know. There are things that are not in our control. But the one thing I will tell you right now is I think right now is an excellent time to buy. You have that uncertainty with people. You have that to where if the interest rates do drop, then refinance. But right now, when the interest rates do drop, make no mistake, prices are gonna go up because people could still afford to make those payments. So why not get in on a time where the prices are gonna be lower, and then you can always fix the interest rates. Getting all those things, so broad strokes, having all those factors, super important. And then you talk about specific at this time, fall of 2024, I think it's a great time to buy because of the factors that I was telling you about. If you found this video helpful, hit the subscribe button and check out my other videos. Thanks a lot.